Have you ever had a dream about owning your own food truck and then taking that food truck all around the country to different events and fairs and festivals, making some money, and then being able to sightsee while you're doing it? Well, today I'm interviewing Michael. He's a member of our Facebook group. He owns the Mobile Sweet Tooth, and he also owns Midwest Best Concessions. He's going to tell us his story because that's exactly what he does. He drives from Michigan all the way down to Florida. Welcome to the 10-Minute Food Truck Training Podcast. My name is Bill Moore. I am a food truck business coach, author of 5 food truck vending books, including Food Truck 101 and Food Truck 201. This podcast is all about helping you start and grow your food truck business. Marketing. We all know the word, but what does it really mean to market for your food truck business? Table Needs has you covered. Their step-by-step food truck marketing guide teaches exactly what you need to do to reach more people and to get more hungry guests ordering from your food truck. Click the link in the description below to get your copy today.
Yeah, my name is Michael, and my business is the Mobile Sweet Tooth, and I also own Midwest Best Concessions.
All right, so tell me a little bit about the first one you mentioned, the Sweet Tooth. Tell me about that one.
The Mobile Sweet Tooth, it's a dessert food trailer. We do soft served ice cream out of it. We serve dessert nachos. It all actually started, though, from our homemade shortcake. My wife and I were sitting at a restaurant one day, and we were eating this amazing shortcake, and we were like, you know what? We need to take this on the road, and I feel like we can take something to fairs and festivals with a little bit of twist and serve it, and we probably sell a lot of it. So we started going home, and we started coming up with this with our recipe for our shortcake. And without even thinking twice, we ordered our food trailer, and it was a time of COVID, and we started hitting the road with it. But I mean, I grew up in the business. I'm third generation, so I kind of grew up in it, and it was always good it was always something I wanted to get back into. And then my dad owned restaurants. He was also the personal caterer for the Simon headquarters for over 25 years. He owned a bunch of Japanese restaurants. He started with Nick's Gyros in Circle Center Mall in downtown Indianapolis. And my grandfather, he was in the restaurant industry. He managed a lot of restaurants throughout the Middle East. And then, so all my uncles really have gotten into it as well. It's almost like a family affair. And then just over the years, I try to get out of it. I'm actually, once I got out of high school, I had 2 restaurants myself, realized real quick I hated brick and mortars. And, handed them right back over to my dad, got out of it. And I always knew I loved the restaurant industry, but I had to get out of a brick and mortar and go into a food trailer. So my dad did a lot of events in downtown area. All my other uncles, they own restaurant brick and mortars. They, an ISU campus out in Champaign, Illinois. And it's always been in my blood. And so we came out with the Mobile Sweet Tooth, and I really didn't want to do the food. I wanted to really target desserts. I also was thinking in a time of COVID, a lot of people are probably going to start eating more at home and going out just for the desserts, or, so I was like, I'm going to bring affordable treats to local events. And that's how it all started. Then before we knew it, we were selling our house. We bought a motor home. And I had a full route from Michigan all the way down to Florida.
Oh, wow.
That's really how the Mobile Sweet Tooth came along. And it's I definitely have, both my wife and I, we have a lot of love into it, and it's something that the more you try, the more you work at it, every year gets better and better for you.
So tell me, from the point that you guys had the strawberry short or the shortcake in that restaurant, how long did it take you to go from that meal to actually getting open?
10 months later.
10 months later. Okay.
10 months later. And it sounds like a long time, but at the time you couldn't just get a food trailer. I mean, you could have whatever you wanted, all your finances lined up, ready to buy it. And they were just on back order.
Yep.
And, but it was 10 months later from the moment we started eating the shortcakes and the moment we were at our first event.
So how was that first event? Then tell us a little bit about that.
Honestly, the first event was horrible. we barely, to be honest with you, I don't even know if we did $200 that day. It was a car show for us. But we had a little bit of competitors there, and our marketing wasn't right, and our signage was horrible. The first event is always to get you out there, just to work your trailer, and that's real. So to us, it was a win-win, and because we were able to run it, see how it operated, we were able to taste desserts. We had some of our friends and family members show up, and so it was a great feeling.
Like you said, the very first event you do, whether it's a big event, a little event, doesn't matter. You end up finding out a whole bunch about your layout and then how you and your spouse or your partner may work together. It's a learning opportunity for sure.
Oh, most definitely. We're still working on that part.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Me and Melissa are too. So, you have the first event and it's not spectacular, but I'm sure you was real happy. $200. How did you go into the next event, and how did you go from $200 event to driving up and down the East Coast selling your wares?
So, I mean, so our first event, it was just to kind of break it. And then I realized real quick, I didn't want to be the average food truck on the road. I realized I wanted to travel, do events. I typically like to target events 3 days or longer. I really like my county fairs. We were actually invited to a county fair, and that's where we went next. We went to a local county fair that my wife grew up in, the little town she grew up in, and we did really well. I mean, it was really almost overwhelming. We didn't really realize how much people loved boba, boba lemonade, and I mean, so it really just took off. But our signage was still not right. Our whole first year really was just kind of us breaking the ground, trying to, I mean, because we're still both in our 20s. I turned 30 next month. Actually, sorry, not even next month. In 6 days, I turned 30.
Oh, wow.
So, we're still both in our 20s. We weren't millionaires. So it's like, so we had to really raise money and keep putting back into our business. If you actually look at pictures from the first day we started to where our trailer is now, it's almost day and night difference. So our first year, our numbers really, if we were doing 6,000, 7,000, $1,000 days, 7,000 a week, that was great for our first year. That was actually, I mean, we didn't think it could get much better than that.
Right.
And then I joined a organization, the NICA, National Independent Concessionaire Association. I started going to some of their events. I started going to some of the classes they have to kind of, and some of it, you'll go into it and it's stuff you already know, but you still need to hear it again. And then, but one thing they kept talking to me about was signage, and lighting is all the key. And so I started switching it up. I went and got professional signs. I mean, so I'm paying for frontage at a typical event. And then, so the very front of the trailer is 4 foot of the tongue of the trailer is wasted space. So why don't you fill up that extra 4 foot with nice signage, stack it up high, make it really nice because you're paying for it. And I mean, signage is really the key. So from where we were our first day of getting started to really where we are now, it's day and night difference. Our first year, we hardly even moved any ice cream. I felt more like a boba and lemonade stand than I actually did a ice cream vendor and dessert vendor. Our second season, we moved more product than I ever imagined us to ever move. And it's the signage. The signage does wonders for people.
There is a reason why a lot of people in the concession industry talk about flash as cash, just getting attention.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, flash is definitely cash, and I mean, spend the money on the wrap, and people always think, yeah, a wrap is very expensive. It costs, depending on the size of your trailer, 5,000 or more. I mean, that costs a lot. That's a lot of lemonade or ice cream sales or selling burgers or wherever it is you sell. That's a lot. But when you do actually put that wrap on, it does wonders for your trailer, just your business in general, because it shows the cleanliness. I mean,
Mhm.
when you walk into my trailer, I have no problem any day of the week opening up the back door to my trailer and letting the people look in it. Just the inside always has to be clean. The outside always has to be clean. We pull up to events every single week. I show up. Even if I have to show up the same day and open up that same day, I still try to wash my trailer real quick.
Absolutely.
So it's a lot of love and taking care of it and putting back into your business when you really need to put back into it.
Yeah, I mean, that's great advice. People need to always be thinking about the image of the trailer and the surroundings around the trailer. You have a beautiful trailer, you pull up into a lot that's got weeds and trash around that people are going to associate that with your trailer. You got to be careful where you're parking.
Most definitely.
So you had some success that first year. Tell me about when you guys first went out of state. Tell me the whole process there, what brought you to make that decision to even go out of state.
So we started in Indiana, and I was really set on going through Michigan because I think Michigan is just a beautiful state. And so we started making our Michigan route. Well, we ended up selling our house right after we kind of got on the road. So after we sold our house, it was like, well, we don't have a house back in Indiana anymore. So we kind of have to go south for winter at this point because
Right.
we're living out of a motorhome. We ended up booking a few events down in around Pensacola area. And
Yeah.
then, so now we actually have events in Alabama and Florida as well. But that's just kind of how we kind of got out of state. We just, to go from Indiana to Michigan, that was almost a given because just how the fairs lined up, it was, you didn't have enough fairs in Indiana to keep operating in Indiana. You kind of had to go up there and then work your way back to Indiana, then start making your way down south for winter.
What's the most difficult thing about getting a permit when you're going out of state so that we can kind of help the folks that are listening?
So that's actually a great question. It's actually very easy. I think a lot of people make it more difficult than what it really is. How we get our permits, I always call the health department, even if the application is already online. I let them tell me it's online. I'm just kind of old school that way.
Right.
Sometimes if it's not online, I have them email it to me, and then I will send out a check, fill out the form, and send out the check. And they usually, some of them, they'll send you the permit before the event. Some of them want to inspect you, then hand you the permit. Every week, that is something that you have to go through. You do have either county inspections, sometimes even state inspections. Really, it becomes a lot easier. And it's very nerve-wracking when you first get into the business because you're not sure what people like, what they're looking for. The best advice I have is to just keep it very, very clean, keep your product rotating, date everything. Make sure you have sanitizer in there, your bleach. Some counties don't even allow you to use, certain sponges, and,
Right.
so you really, you don't know what to expect. But now I will say a lot of the times the health inspectors are very lenient. And most of the time when you do go to those events and you do have a problem, most of the time they'll give you a few hours to go and fix your situation. Show up with hot water. If you're operating out of a tent, make sure you have your hand sink part figured out, your 3 compartment sink. And you should be good because everything else, most of the time, the health inspector will work with you.
All righty. Thank you for joining us today. Tomorrow's going to be part 2 of my interview with Michael. We're going to be talking about how it takes time until you can build your name and your reputation with your mobile food business. Thank you so much for listening to the 10-Minute Food Truck Training Podcast. If you're finding all the information helpful to your food truck business, please become a monthly supporter of the podcast. Just hit the support button or follow the link in the description. Every little bit does help keep us going. Join our Facebook group. It's called Food Truck Training. We have a whole bunch of awesome members at all different levels, from brand new beginners to decades-old veterans. They've all got your back when it comes to helping you with your food truck. And again, thank you for listening. Come back tomorrow because I got plenty more to say when it comes to helping you and your food truck business grow.